example, let's say that there's a very simple project task to take two parts, X and Y, manufacture and assemble them together. Here's the jobs, A through H. Description, start, get materials for X, get materials for Y, turn X on a lathe, turn Y on a lathe, polish Y, assemble X and Y, finish. This is the immediate predecessors and time required in minutes for each of the jobs. Okay? So if we follow the rules that I described, we get a graph that looks like this. Okay? So A is our start task. You see it has duration 0. It's just a dummy task to anchor the project. And the finish task is over here, and it also has duration 0. So then we basically work on C and B, right? We can work in C and B in parallel. C feeds into E. E also requires B here. Then E feeds into F. C feeds into D. D feeds into G, as does F, and we finish. So let me ask you, looking at this graph, how many paths through this project? How many paths are there? Here I've listed those 4 paths through the project, A to C to E to F to G to H, and we simply add all the times. Now, the critical path is which one? It's the top one, right? I show it in red here. It's the longest path. This is the biggest number. That's the longest path, and that's the one we call the critical path, because it determines the earliest we can finish the project. All these paths have to be done. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to do this one. When you do a project, all the paths, because you need to do all the tasks that are in the project plan. All these tasks are necessary, right? So you can't just say, I'm going to pick the shortest, this one here, and this is the one I'm going to do, and all the others I will ignore. You don't have a choice. You have to do all of these paths. And therefore, the most critical one, the important one, is the one shown here, because that's the one that takes the longest. That constrains the earliest you can finish the project. I'm sure a lot of you have received phone call and said, you know, we had told you you have 4 months or 6 months. You actually need to finish it in 3 months. I don't care how you do it, just figure out how to do it. That basically means crashing the project, compressing it, doing it faster. What's the right action? What's the right way to do it? Identify the subset that's on the critical path and focus your attention on these few tasks and speed them up, because the other ones are not constraining you. So what I'm hoping out of this class is that if somebody says to you, I need you to execute your project 20% faster, that you will not respond right away, yes or no, but you'll say, okay, I understand what you would like. Give me a day to figure out if we can do it and what the consequences would be. You go back, look at your critical path, look for each of the critical path tasks, what compressing it by 20% would mean, right? And then you present options. For example, we could do 20% faster, but we have to cut out this part of the work. We have to reduce the scope, or we have to bring more people, or we have to use, an extra vendor, or we have to bring some new technology, or we have to do express shipping. And each of those options probably has a financial consequences. And then you go back and say, here, yes, we can speed up the project by 20%. Option A, option B, option C, each of them has different consequences in either scope of work, personnel, or the budget, right? And so now the discussion is not so much an emotional discussion, but it becomes rooted in fact and analysis and the plan. And as a project manager, you take the power to hold the facts, present the facts, and you're in a much stronger negotiating position then.